Skies of Arcadia is one of those games that makes you stop and ask, how the hell did we never get a sequel? I mean, come on, this thing had everything. Floating islands, sky pirates, giant airships, ancient civilizations, and turn-based battles in the clouds. It was like someone dumped Treasure Planet, Final Fantasy, and One Piece into a blender and somehow didn't screw it up. Released back on the Dreamcast, Skies of Arcadia was Sega's love letter to classic JRPGs, but with the volume cranked all the way up. You didn't just explore cities and dungeons, you soared through the skies on a customizable ship. And here's the best part. Ship combat was a whole separate system. That's right. This game had full-on tactical battles between airships, where you had to manage your crew, time your actions across future turns, and pray you didn't eat a moonstone cannon to the face. It added strategy and tension to exploration, and made finding new sky routes feel like genuine adventuring. And wasn't just the systems pulling their weight, the cast brought just as much charm. Weiss, the wide-eyed optimist who made being a JRPG protagonist look fun again. Aika, the firecracker with a boomerang and zero chill. And let's not forget Fina, the mysterious girl with ancient tech and a tragic backstory. Together, they weren't just saving the world, they were having a damn good time doing it. But what really set Skies apart, though, was its pacing. It gave you time to soak in the world, hunt for discoveries, recruit new crew members, upgrade your ship, and take on massive sky beasts that made you feel like you were piloting a damn fortress. And it was all backed by an uplifting, swashbuckling soundtrack that practically yelled adventure in your ear. The game eventually got a port on the GameCube, which cleaned up the visuals a bit and added some content, but that was it. No sequel, no reboot, just silence. But hey, there's a glimmer of hope on the horizon. Sega recently renewed the Skies of Arcadia trademark, and rumors have been flying about a possible remaster in the works. Nothing's confirmed yet, but the skies might not stay silent forever. Fingers crossed they finally give this gem the comeback it deserves.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Can you believe it? He is growing up so fast.
All right, let's talk about Fallout New Vegas. The chaotic, charming mess of a game that somehow still stands as one of the best RPGs ever made. Released back in 2010 by Obsidian, this was the Wild West of post-apocalyptic role-playing. And no, I don't mean just thematically, I mean this thing gave you the freedom to shoot, betray, charm, explode, or sweet-talk your way through every single quest, and somehow, it all worked. Mostly. But what made New Vegas hit different wasn't just the world, it was how you lived in it. You weren't some chosen one with glowing plot armor, you were a mail carrier, shot in the head, left for dead, and then boom, you wake up, and suddenly you're knee-deep in a political minefield between war-hungry factions, corrupt corporations, old-world cults, and one guy in a shiny suit who thinks he's Caesar. It's like Game of Thrones if it had geckos on fire and Elvis impersonators running casinos. Now, let's talk mechanics, because this wasn't your average run-and-gun RPG. New Vegas let you align with multiple factions, each with their own motives, perks, and consequences. Your choices didn't just give you different endings, they rippled through the entire world. Side with the NCR? Great, now the Legion hates you and might hunt you down mid-quest. Blow up a town? Cool, but hope you weren't planning to fast travel there again. Every decision carried weight, and not the +5 karma kind, but real, messy, burn that bridge kind of consequences. And don't even get me started on the survival mode. Hardcore difficulty meant water was precious, ammo had weight, and if your leg got crippled mid-fight, well, good luck hobbling away from that deathclaw. It made every choice feel dangerous and real, which is something we rarely get now in the age of auto-heals and infinite backpacks. Right now, Obsidian's knee-deep in Outer Worlds 2, and just launched Avowed, a game that, yeah, decided to take a detour into, let's say, poor narrative choices that didn't exactly sit well with a lot of longtime fans of the company. It's a good game, but pushed into a lane nobody really asked for, but somehow it still hit decent numbers. And with Obsidian and Bethesda both under Microsoft, all we need is one green light, just one. Back in the golden days of the PlayStation, Capcom decided to do something totally wild. They took Mega Man, yeah, the 2D side-scrolling king of pixelated platforming, and just threw him headfirst into 3D. And the result was Mega Man Legends, a bold, bizarre, and completely charming spin-off that somehow managed to mix action, RPG mechanics, and a ton of personality into one of the most underrated gems of its generation. This time, it was about exploration, dialogue, side quests, and uncovering a full-on mysterious world. And honestly, it worked way better than it had any right to. You played as Mega Man Volnut, an explorer in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity lives on islands surrounded by endless water. Your job is dive into ancient ruins, fight off Reaver bots, collect loot, and uncover secrets while managing gear, upgrades, and relationships with the locals. It wasn't just shoot the bad guy and move on. You had towns to visit, characters to help, and choices that actually affected how people treated you. Help people, donate to rebuild the city, take on side quests, and you'd be treated like a hero. Ignore them, steal, blow things up for fun, and well, people wouldn't be so friendly. And even your armor changed color based on how you acted. Combat felt punchy and experimental, especially for a game trying 3D for the first time in the series. You locked onto enemies, dodged in real time, and upgraded your arm cannon with parts you found or bought. It wasn't just pew-pew, win-the-room type stuff. It was strategic, a little clunky, and kind of addictive. And just when fans were ready for more, boom! Mega Man Legends 3 gets announced for the 3DS, and Capcom even invited fans to help shape the game. Hype exploded, people lost their minds. It sounded too good to be true. Spoiler, it was. Capcom pulled the plug, crushed dreams everywhere, and left the Robo Squad heartbroken. The cancellation felt like a slap in the face, especially since they had already shown concept art, playable prototypes, and, like I said, even invited fans to help shape the game. It had potential, momentum, and Capcom just let it die. A sequel could expand the lore, modernize the combat, and finally give closure to one of the coolest cliffhangers in RPG spin-off history. So come on, Capcom, dust off the data, fire up the dev kit, and let our boys skate again.
He's but one, yet fights like a score!
Octopath Traveler is one of those games that looks like it time-traveled straight from the Super Nintendo era, then hit the gym, learned Unreal Engine, and came back glowing in glorious HD 2D. You don't just follow one hero's journey, you follow eight. 8 fully fleshed-out characters, each with their own personal drama, motivations, and world-shaking quests. At first, it feels like you're speed-dating a cast of RPG tropes. You've got the brooding warrior, the cheerful dancer, the noble cleric, you know the deal. But then the game pulls a sneaky one on you, and these stories start to overlap. And by the time you notice how interconnected everything is, you're already 50 hours deep and emotionally compromised. Combat-wise, it's turn-based with a twist. There's a boost system that lets you bank turns to unleash stronger attacks, and a break system that punishes enemies for their elemental or weapon weaknesses. And Octopath Traveler 2 doesn't just repeat the formula. It connects characters more meaningfully, adds powerful duo attacks called latent powers, and throws in day-night cycles that affect exploration and battles. It builds on everything that made the first game great, and turns the dial to 11. Every character also has a primary job and can equip a secondary one, so you're constantly theory-crafting wild combos. Apothecary and Thief? Go for it. Scholar and Warrior? Sure, why not? It's like building a team of weird little RPG Frankensteins and then watching them break the game. Octopath Traveler 2 doubled down on everything. Better pacing, deeper synergy between character arcs, crossed path stories, and yes, even more ridiculous boss fights with opera music and emotional backstories. It's dramatic, it's beautiful, and it's screaming for a third game. Like, how is this not already greenlit? We've got a universe full of magic, mystery, and morally ambiguous merchants. Let's go, Square Enix. Give the people what they want.
Pierce them.
Winds of Frost.
Come on then!
Hey, quick pause. If you're enjoying this ride through forgotten RPG greatness, do me a tiny favor and hit that like button. It takes less than half a second, and trust me, your thumb won't even notice the workout. Also, drop a comment below and tell me, if you could bring back one RPG series from the dead, which one would you resurrect? And why is it probably Suikoden? Comments seriously help the algorithm summon this channel to more viewers, and they keep the content flowing. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Scarlet Nexus dropped in 2021, and it's one of the freshest, weirdest, most anime-ass RPGs we've gotten in years. And I say that with love. Brought to life by Bamco and helmed by Tales series veterans, Scarlet Nexus doesn't just look anime, it plays like one too. You play as a member of the OSF, basically the Psychic Avengers, who use crazy abilities like telekinesis, pyrokinesis, and whatever else kinesis to blast freakish mutants called Others. And I'm not talking typical JRPG monsters here. These enemies look like someone fed Silent Hill into an AI and hit make it worse. Creepy bouquets with legs, broken mannequins with cables growing out of their backs. It's bizarre, but totally works. But the real gem here is the combat. You throw cars with your mind, yank vending machines into enemies' faces, or set the battlefield on fire with a borrowed power from your party. That's right, the whole party system is based on sharing powers. You link brains mid-battle and essentially borrow your buddy's ability for a limited time. But what makes this work so well is the fluidity. As you're constantly switching abilities, dodging at the last second to trigger slow-mo counters, and timing your special attacks to obliterate the others in a shower of particle effects and chaos. The world feels like neon-drenched cyberpunk Tokyo colliding headfirst with a psychic military school drama. It's unapologetically melodramatic, packed with over-the-top anime storytelling, shady government conspiracies, bizarre science experiments, and a generous splash of existential dread. And despite being a new IP, Scarlet Nexus did surprisingly well, racking up over 1 million copies sold, which is a big deal for a game that isn't part of an existing mega franchise. It deserves a sequel, no question. So Bamco, call us when you're ready.
Kasane, go!
That was close.
Now let's talk about Shadow Hearts, that one RPG series that crawled out of the weirdest corners of the early 2000s and somehow became a cult classic. It's dark, it's weird, it's got cursed monks, talking puppets, demonic fusions, and just enough turn-based combat to make your inner strategist happy. Now, here's the deal. This series didn't just show up out of nowhere. It actually started with a little horror RPG on the original PlayStation called Kudelka, which set the tone for the whole saga. Creepy vibes, gothic horror, and turn-based battles wrapped in a story that didn't care if you were comfortable. Then came Shadow Hearts on the PS2, and it cranked things up with the Judgment Ring system. Every attack, every item use, every little move had to go through that spinning ring of stress. Miss the timing and boom, turn wasted, momentum gone. But when you nailed it, that critical animation hit like pure satisfaction, the kind that made all the anxiety worth it. And by the time Shadow Hearts Covenant came out, the series found its groove. The combat got smoother, the tone balanced dark and absurd perfectly, and the character roster was chaotic gold. You had a German wrestler, a vampire who turns into a bat for naps, and a girl who summons gods with her lipstick. And it all worked thanks to the mix of historical fiction, turn-based depth, and this almost Shin Megami Tensei-level commitment to fusing horror and strategy. Then came Shadow Hearts from the New World, which, okay, changed the mood a bit. Still solid, just different. And after that, silence. But let's be real. With today's love for retro horror aesthetics, turn-based revivals, and weird niche darlings getting second chances, Shadow Hearts is long overdue for a resurrection.
Ridley's a girl?
Radiata Stories is one of those weird little gems that makes you wonder, how did this not become a franchise? It dropped on the PlayStation 2 like a surprise party you didn't know you needed, and suddenly you're neck-deep in a vibrant world where every NPC, and there are over 170, isn't just window dressing. They've got lives, schedules, drama, and you could literally follow someone around town just to see them go to work, take lunch, hang out, and pass out at night. Now throw in a choice that splits the entire story in half. Midway through, the game asks you to pick a side in a brewing conflict, and depending on who you stand with, you lose access to entire areas, characters, and quests. Combat-wise, this game ditched the traditional turn-based formula and went full action RPG, letting you control your character in real time while your allies, well, let's just say they try their best. You can kick objects to trigger events. And yes, that includes people. String together combos and customize your party to match your style. Want a team of knights and mages? Cool. Want to roll into battle with a chef and a guy who looks like he got lost on the way to a boy band audition? Also an option. And with today's tech, a sequel could easily crank the charm to 11. Modern cell shading, tighter controls, deeper branching paths, and maybe, just maybe, party AI that doesn't charge into fire spells like it's a game of tag. It doesn't need to be a AAA spectacle, just give it the love and freedom that made the original so memorable. The Legend of Dragoon is one of those games that feels like a beautiful dream. Like, did this really happen? Did Sony actually drop a 4-disc, high-budget RPG bomb at the tail end of the PlayStation 1's life cycle and then just vanish into the night? Yeah, they did. And to this day, fans are still side-eyeing Sony like, you ever gonna call us back? What made Legend of Dragoon so special wasn't just the flashy FMVs or the obvious Final Fantasy vibes, which it had unapologetically. But what really made it stand out was the combat system. They called it the Addition system, and basically, every time you attacked, you had to time button presses perfectly to pull off combos. Nail the timing, and boom, you get that sweet extra damage, but mess it up, and your cool Dragoon transformation turns into nothing but wasted flair. And speaking of transformations, turning into a Dragoon mid-fight was pure JRPG dopamine. Wings burst out, the music shifted, and suddenly you were launching magical super moves from the skies. Each character had their own unique Dragoon abilities, and building them up felt like leveling a superhero team. And what about the story? Look, it wasn't Shakespeare, but it had dragons, betrayal, ancient wars, and just the right amount of melodrama to make it unforgettable. And it blows my mind that Sony has never followed up on this. I mean, you've got a cult classic with a one-of-a-kind combat system, iconic characters, and a fan base that's been patiently begging for a sequel since the dial-up era. Sony could stop remaking everything for the 5th time and give us a new Legend of Dragoon. We're definitely ready.
Double punch!
Seems like this room is locked.
There's a map over here.
Drakengard 3 is one of those games that doesn't really ask for your approval. It just exists on its own wild terms. And that's what makes it so fascinating. Coming from Yoko Taro, the same creator behind Nier and Nier Automata, you know you're not getting anything conventional. The connection between the Drakengard and Nier universes is complicated, layered, and intentionally vague by design. It's one of those timelines where the more you dig, the deeper the rabbit hole gets. But even without untangling every lore thread, Drakengard 3 stands on its own as something bold and brutally unique. At the center is Zero, a brutally sharp-tongued warrior whose mission is to kill her 5 godlike sisters. Why? That's part of the fun. The game tosses you into a world of blood, betrayal, and flying dragons, and it doesn't really care if you're confused. In fact, it kind of thrives on that. The combat is pure hack and slash, but you can swap between weapons mid-combo with its own rhythm and purpose. Swords are your go-to for quick, stylish chains. Spears break defenses and hit hard, and chakrams are slow but let you control space. It's a combat system that's deceptively flexible, but it never reaches its full potential thanks to one glaring issue: performance. The frame rate dips like it's trying to dodge your inputs, and the camera, let's just say it has a mind of its own. Still, there's something magnetic here. As the story unfolds through multiple branching paths, each one weirder and darker than the last, you start to see what the game is really doing. It's not just shock for shock's sake, it's a deep dive into trauma, control, and the absurdity of divine power. And if you make it to the infamous final ending, you'll get a rhythm-based boss fight so brutal and abstract, it feels like performance art. No UI, no mercy. Just you, the music, and a slowly crumbling grip on reality. With today's hardware and a bit more polish, a Drakengard 4 could push these wild ideas even further. The universe is still ripe with questions, and let's be honest, we're not done bleeding for the answers.
You transformed your dragon into a demon. Where's the disciple you used to summon that thing?
Back on the original PlayStation, Suikoden wasn't just another turn-based game trying to ride the coattails of Final Fantasy. It was a beast of its own, mixing political drama with fantasy in a way that made you feel like you were orchestrating a rebellion, not just grinding XP. The game lets you recruit over 100 characters, 108 to be exact. And this isn't some cheap gimmick where half the characters are walking stats with no personality. Each one had a backstory, a role to play, and many even impacted the ending. Some were essential in building your HQ into an actual thriving community, with blacksmiths, shopkeepers, and even freaking bathhouses. Yeah, this game had infrastructure. Not only were you assembling an army, you were practically building a small nation while navigating betrayals, shifting alliances, and full-on civil wars. And let's not forget the combat. Suikoden gave you 6-member party fights when most games were still doing the classic 3. You could combine characters for tag team special moves, and there was a whole rune system that worked kind of like magic meets strategy. Some runes let you nuke the enemy from orbit. Others let you heal, buff, or break the game entirely if you knew what you were doing. And then, there were the war battles and duels. Completely different systems with unique rules and mechanics, all tied directly to the story. Fast forward to now, and yeah, we got the HD remasters of Suikoden 1 and 2 in 2025, and they're really beautiful. Konami finally remembered they own more than pachinko machines. They're dusting off Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, and even throwing us Castlevania fans a bone. So here's hoping they go all the way and give Suikoden the full sequel treatment. Not a spiritual successor, not another remake. We're talking a real, fully fledged continuation of this rich, complex world. Now, it's your turn. Which RPG do you wish had gotten a sequel? Let me know in the comments, because I'm actually using your suggestions to shape future videos. And if you had fun hanging out, don't forget to drop a like and hit subscribe. It's quick, painless, and helps this channel keep doing what it does best, talking way too much about RPGs.